I've already made a couple of videos on the US Phonograph Company, and this is one of the machines that I'm going to talk about. The US Phonograph Company was from Cleveland, Ohio, and in 1909 they started producing phonographs, cylinder phonographs. And initially they came out with external horn machines. This is one of their internal horn machine offerings. They were well known because they had a reproducer for the machine that was a double. So it was two reproducers side by side, one for playing 2-minute and one for playing 4-minute. It was a pretty interesting mechanism and a bit ahead of its time. But the problem with those machines is that the metal that they were made out of was an amalgam, sometimes called pot metal, and they deteriorated and fell apart. So it wasn't exactly the best way to do things. And unfortunately, most of those machines aren't playable because the reproducers have fallen apart. Later on, the company decided to, instead of having double reproducer, they decided to have one single reproducer that could play both 2 and 4 minutes by using the same stylus. And that was not a great decision either, because the two grooves are different. Since the 4-minute machine, the 4-minute cylinder, has more grooves, the grooves are closer together and the channel of the groove is narrower. So the two styli for the 2-minute and the 4-minute have to be a different size. So if you're going to make one stylus for both size grooves, you're probably going to make it more towards the size of the larger groove, the 2-minute groove, which means it doesn't quite ride properly in a 4-minute groove. So either way, it didn't seem to be working really well. It did work, but not as good as, let's say, the Edison product, where if they had a 2-minute stylus, it was properly sized for a 2-minute cylinder, and a 4-minute stylus was properly sized for a 4-minute cylinder. But it worked well enough that for most people, it seemed like a good idea, and it gave them some flexibility with the machines they were purchasing. In 1910, this company also introduced the everlasting 2-minute and 4-minute celluloid cylinders, and I'll bring one up when I come in for a close-up and show you what that cylinder would look like. These machines, in particular, this is sort of like an Ambrola 30, the Edison Ambrola 30 you might be familiar with. It's about the same size. It's obviously they decided to pretty much copy that machine. This was sold by Montgomery Ward. So they had a deal with Montgomery Ward, a catalog company, to make machines and records for them. And so Montgomery Ward marketed them as Lakeside, the Lakeside brand. So you'll see machines like this that are really Lakeside cylinders. They're made by the US Phonograph Company. This model was called the Rex, and as I said, you could see it as a Lakeside. They also did a deal with the RD Cortina Company, which did the same sort of thing. They bought the machines from US Phonograph, and they specifically marketed them as language machines, or machines you would use to buy Cortina language cylinders so you could learn a language. So the cylinders that they made were the same as the everlasting that US was making, but they were marketed with material from Cortina, and they were language cylinders. So I'll see if I can find one of those here and show you what that looks like too. On this machine, they had moved to the single reproducer. Unfortunately, this machine is not working really well, so I can't really play it, but it sounds a lot like an Ambrola 30. Maybe an Ambrola 30 might sound a little bit better because the stylus is absolutely the correct size. This machine, the Rex, was introduced in 1912 and competed with the Ambrola 30. Obviously, that's what it was meant to do. Around that time, there was declining sales in the cylinder market because disc records were more popular, and that affected this company's sales. They were also locked in battles with Thomas Edison's company over patent infringement, and both those two things resulted in this company going under in 1914. So let's come in close and take a look. When this machine was sold by Montgomery Ward, it was called a Lakeside machine, and these are the Lakeside cylinders, also made by the same company, US Phonograph Company. And then when it was sold as a language machine, it was called a Cortinaphone, and these are Cortina language records. And again, manufactured by US Phonograph Company. And this machine itself was sold as the Rex. There's a nice decal there. And you can see It looks, as I said, a lot like an Ambrola 30, but a little bit different mechanism. Here's the changing from pull it out for 2 minute and push it in for 4 minute. And the gears, this governor is covered by this here. You can see the reproducer assembly is sort of like an Edison machine. And then the lifting mechanism's a little weird. It's like this little pointer that comes out there. I don't know if you can see that. So it goes down and up. And it doesn't work really well. And you can see behind the mandrel is an ID plate.